And that's when you give them permission to be a little critical. And that's when you're really going to get the feedback you need to make your organization better and therefore stand out among the competition.
Hey there, and welcome to episode 8 of the Branded Merch Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Kirby Hasseman. That's right, episode ocho, right, Bill? And the other host is here with me, Bill Petrie. Bill Petrie from Brandivate. Bill, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing fantastic. It's a beautiful day here in Franklin, Tennessee, and I'm ready to podcast it up with you, my good friend.
Always good to podcast with you, buddy. So the Branded Merch Podcast is brought to you by Hasseman Marketing. We do this every other week. The goal is to be the definitive podcast for marketing professionals who want to up their marketing game with basic marketing tips, but also tips on how to do branded merch better. So if you want to learn a little bit more about how to up your marketing game, head to hassemanmarketing.com and download the free Target Marketing Playbook. We're really excited about that. So Bill, each week or each time, I should say, each episode, you come to us with sort of a marketing topic, something that we can sort of level up. So what have you got for us this week, bud?
Yeah. So when I came into the office this morning, I had my backpack full of ideas and I dug around and I pulled this idea out, Kirby. And, we're heading to the summer months. A lot of times for a lot of businesses, it tends to be a slower time for sales, especially if you are in the B2B area. It tends to slow down a little bit in the summer months. So I wanted to talk about a couple of ideas, maybe to either grow your sales in the summer months or leverage your time better in the summer months to prepare for other busier seasons. So, number one is host a summer client appreciation event. I'm a big fan of this.
Okay.
Now you do this, I believe, every fall.
Yep.
With your hoot nanny, your rodeo thing.
Yeah, I think it is called a hoot nanny.
Yeah, I know it's not, but you do a client appreciation event in the fall, and it's well established in the fall. But there's no reason you can't do that in the summer if you haven't already established one. And it gives you an opportunity to show off your company, your store, if you have a storefront, in an after hours. Maybe instead of doing a lunch and learn, you do a drink and think, and you have maybe some beer and wine and kind of chat with people a little bit about what you do, why you exist, and why they should consider partnering with you. And what this does, it really will help you increase your client retention. They may not be able to spend money right now, but again, these little things do help in the long run. And so I love a good client appreciation event.
Yeah, there's never a bad time to say thank you, right? And I think if you can build some fun around a business thing, I mean, you've built a whole business around this with Promocations. I think if you can build networking and business around something fun, it always works out well. One of the things I always say, Bill, is that, as a parent, the first thing we teach our kids is to say please and thank you, right? But as a parent, we do get tired of please.
Yes.
We never get tired of thank you.
Actually, I'd like to hear please a little more often from my
children. Fair. But thank you, we do not get tired of. I would guess our clients don't either. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Okay. Number 2, launch a summer subscription box. Now, this is something you can create a subscription package to send out during the summer months. Maybe it's quarterly. But what it might do is develop some recurring revenue for you, for your brand, and increase customer loyalty. This is a great way to also leverage branded merchandise for this. You could do a summer subscription box, regardless of what type of company you run, what kind of industry you're in. You could create a box where you send it to your clients, very low cost. It doesn't have to be expensive, but you could absolutely leverage branded merchandise for this box. Again, showing appreciation in a different way. If you don't want to do some sort of meet and greet thing like that, you could do a summer subscription box.
Yeah, I love this idea. I think, whether it's a sale or an appreciation box, again, going and getting in front of clients is harder and harder these days. So doing it in that sort of format can be really powerful. Love that one.
Right. And these set the stage for sales in the future.
Yes.
Right. It may not increase your revenue right now, And that's okay. So the next two and the final two I have, because I have four, the next two are really something to help you, as Kirby would say, level up or get better. Number one, survey your employees. That's
Hmm.
number one. July 13th is coming up, and I'll tell you why that's an important day. It's not just the day before Bastille Day in France, it's also Gruntled Employees Day, not disgruntled, it's Gruntled Employees Day. Maybe it's a good way to get feedback from your employees and allow them to be candid about where you need to improve the working environment.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter if you're in an office, people are at home, some sort of hybrid. Having those honest conversations through a survey and actually implementing actionable plans, reporting back to the respondents what people said in the survey, and then acting to make your organization leaner, more efficient. Always a good idea. It's amazing to me how many companies I work with where they don't ask their employees, "Hey, how can we get better?"
Hmm.
It seems like it always comes from the top down. Here's what you need to do to get better. And here's what needs to be done to go faster. And I believe it should come from the bottom up because those are the people who are really in there in the
Yeah.
trenches day in, day out. They understand their job. And so when you ask people, hey, what should we do to improve efficiency around here? You'll be amazed at the responses you get. And they're generally a lot better ideas than you yourself will have.
Yeah, and let's face it, I mean, when you take someone's suggestion and implement it and it works, it not only is it good for efficiency, but it's great for culture as well. So yeah, that's a good one.
Right. Well, it's empowering. It's
Yeah.
empowering. And then the last one is survey your clients. Create a survey to really understand your clients and their purchasing journey. We all assume we know who our clients are, but I guarantee you we don't. We don't ask enough questions. We don't ask
Right.
enough of the right questions. And I hate to say it, but I don't think we as a collective listen to the answers as well as we should.
Yeah.
So ask your clients, where are they going? What do
Yeah.
they need from you? Not just today. What do they need from you down the road? What are their branding plans down the road? Are they looking at a rebranding? Are they celebrating a milestone, an anniversary, maybe 25 years, 50 years, 150 years, whatever it is? Understand what your clients are going through and you can better serve them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it's so funny. One of my favorite quotes I talk about all the time is the greatest distance in the world is the distance between I know and I do. Like we are
Yep.
told early on in every organization that you should listen more than you speak. And most of us do not take that advice. I know I struggle with it for sure sometimes. The idea that you really dig in and give people permission to tell you the truth, that's something I know you talk about a lot, can
I do.
really make a difference. It not only in your relationship in one-on-one, but it can change your messaging too.
Right, and it doesn't have to be a formal survey. It can be a conversation, and if
Yeah.
you ask a client, "How are things going? How do you feel about what we're doing for you?" and they say it's fine or it's great, it's like a kid when they come home from school. "How's school today?" "Fine." Don't accept that as an answer, and you can push back gently by saying, "Hey, I'm glad you're happy with what we're doing, but there has to be ways we can improve.
Yeah.
What would you change if you could change anything about what we do?" And that's when you give them permission to be a little critical, and that's when you're really gonna get the feedback you need to make your organization better and therefore stand out among the competition.
Yeah, dude. That's great advice. I like those, man.
Awesome.
And I think,
Alright.
great for the summer, but those are all year round tips, baby.
Yeah, that's right. I just labeled them somewhere because that's what look, I have a whole backpack down here full of ideas, and that's the
Yeah.
one that came out.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, cool. So, we had a little conversation back and forth yesterday on mine, and I was coming up with different topic ideas. I don't have a
Yeah.
full backpack. I've just got like a little folder. And so today we wanted to talk a little bit about, tips and trends that we're seeing in decoration. The reality of it is, if we're doing branded merch, the first word of that is that it's branded. So
Yep.
we have to decorate it in some way. And so I have three here,
Okay,
Bill,
let's
that I
go.
want, and I've come up with these. I want your feedback on them. So
I would love to
um,
give my feedback.
that's one of the things I love about you. The first one is, with the explosion of more graphic design tools, more and more people have started to fancy themselves as graphic designers. And that's great. I actually love the explosion of creativity that's happened. But one of the things you're seeing in addition to the ability to do more digital printing, is we're seeing more and more wildly colorful logos. And that's wonderful.
Mhm.
But the big piece of advice I say all the time is make sure that you have a one color version of your logo to go with that colorful version. There are so many clients I run into,
Mm.
and all they've got is the color logo. And so
Yeah.
when they run into a different kind of piece that they can't do that full color decoration, they really struggle with that.
Mhm.
So I, I assume you agree with this, but I sort of want your take.
1000% agree with it. I mean, things like Canva and tools like that, and I think Adobe's coming out with something very similar to Canva,
They
has really
better.
democratized. Yeah, it has. Yeah, they have to absolutely. 'Cause Canva's got a pretty big jump start on them. I mean, I use with my company, I use a lot of Illustrator, but I'd say I do 90% of my work in Canva because it's easier, quite
Yeah.
frankly.
Yeah.
And but with that democratization of creative tools, comes the I'm going to put every color in the rainbow on here, like you said. And there are things, depending on the decoration method, it just won't work. It
Right.
just won't work.
Yeah. And again, I love the full color thing, but when we are creating logos for other folks, we actually start with the one color version first. And it's funny,
Correct.
clients kind of push back on that. Well, I want it to be a
Yep.
little bit more colorful. We can totally do that, but we want to start with a foundation that's going to look good on everything, no matter what. And I think if you look at the brands that you admire, um,
Mhm.
there are some definite super colorful ones, but
Yep.
almost all of them have a foundation in a really cool one color logo that you can engrave, you can do whatever with. And so that's
100%.
tip number one.
Yeah,
Okay.
100%. Love it. Good tip. Good tip.
Number two, know what type of decorations work for your brand or logo. I think that especially when we're talking for this podcast more to end users, more to the folks that buy branded merchandise, and I think many folks know of just like one or two decoration techniques. But if you are going to have more colorful logos, you're going to have things with gradients and all those sort of things. It's important to understand just a few different types of decoration techniques and what those look like. So,
Yeah.
I think everybody is sort of familiar with screen printing, but those
Mhm.
go on one color at a time. You gradients you can do a little bit, but it's not great depending on. Embroidery is the other one, right? Is yes, you can do multiple colors in embroidery, but again, gradients don't do very well. Some of the other pieces, and I don't want to get too far in the weeds on this because this could be a whole podcast by itself, but
Sure.
sublimation, you can do really
Mhm.
cool full color stuff on that. But sublimation, you have to use specific kinds of uh, material, right?
Right.
Heat seal is another one that you can do some really cool. And then again, back to the idea of needing a one color logo, laser engraving and some things like that. It-
Yeah.
Understanding how your brand is going to look on a specific item is imperative for you to get branded merchandise that doesn't suck.
100%. And this is we're working with someone like you, a consultant in the promotional products field, helps so much,
Yeah.
because you understand decorating techniques. You don't expect your clients to understand the difference between screen printing, heat sealing, direct to garment
Yeah.
DTG, direct to film DTF, plastisol, and all the million other things. There are
Yeah.
so many decorating techniques. Some work, your mileage may vary.
Right.
So it depends on what you want. Again, material. You can do direct to garment on things that are not organic. It doesn't work very well on cotton.
Yeah.
Things like that. That's what someone like you come in handy. And actually, I'd say more than handy, it's
Yeah.
critical because you understand those decorating techniques. So again, it does go back to the logo, but there are people who have very complicated logos and they love them, and that's fine. It just may limit the way it's decorated. So we've seen it a million times where someone has a very complex logo and they want it embroidered on a ball cap.
Yeah.
And despite any protestation from just a branded merch distributor like you, they'll do it and they're never happy with the results. So
That's
really
exactly right.
listen to your branded merch consultant 100%.
Yeah, and I tell you, it's funny. I think you'll appreciate this, Bill. One of the most popular blog posts I've ever written is a
Mhm,
blog post that says, "How much does a custom T-shirt cost?" And it's like
mhm.
a 2,000 word essay because
Yeah.
it's a little bit like asking how much does a car cost, because there's
Right,
just so many different variables that go into it. So
right.
your point's well taken about working with somebody who can kind of guide you down the road. And then
Absolutely.
final, and this is more of a trend than a tip, but a little bit of
Yeah.
both, is, for years, I think when it comes to branded merch, we say, hey, we're gonna put a logo on it, right?
Yep.
And the big trend that I'm seeing is more and more, especially with small to mid-sized companies,
Mhm.
is utilizing not just slapping your logo on the front of um,
Yep.
a t-shirt or whatever, is kind of putting a message, something that your
Mhm,
brand can get behind.
mhm.
Often it's an inspirational message that is consistent with your brand standards. That is something I'm seeing all across the industry, and I think people are really that's one that I'm excited about. I think that's a good trend.
I couldn't agree more. I love that because it turns for lack of a better term, a simple, embroidered or emblazoned or embellished garment into something that is much more inspirational, aspirational, fun,
Yeah.
whatever your message you want to be. We did it for Promocations with
Yep.
that hoodie. It had a Promocations logo on the left chest, but it had our tagline of Promo Vacation Bond Repeat on the sleeve,
Yeah.
which was really cool. So things like that, again, it's all real estate, right?
Yeah.
And I think if you, as an end user of branded merch, if you look at it as a shirt or anything you're decorating is, that's real estate. How can I maximize what I'm doing by through that real estate?
Yeah.
Because we're not suggesting fill every bit of that real estate. Negative space is good too,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
understanding what the capabilities are. Maybe it's a small message on the yoke, on the back.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something on the sleeve, but yeah, 100%. I am seeing a lot more of that where companies are really trying to almost build mini lifestyle brands.
Yeah. And that's one I really enjoy. So yeah,
Yeah,
know your logo, be able to simplify your logo, understand what kind of different decoration techniques. And I'm really glad you brought this up because I meant to bring it up earlier. It's other
yeah,
locations. And
yeah.
so think creatively about it, and then think creatively about the message that you want to tie your brand to, because I think that you can really increase your impact when you do that.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
All right. Well, cool, man. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know we always try to make
You
this one
bet.
short and sweet.
Dude.
Bill, I always appreciate you, taking time out of your busy schedule to do this. I really do appreciate it. And we'll do it again some other time.
My pleasure. That backpack of ideas doesn't empty itself. I need the podcast to do it.
I love it. All right. Well, hey, I appreciate you listening in on this. And if you want to, head to HosmanMarketing.com, grab that target marketing playbook. It's free after all. And we will happily help you walk through that and make sure that you're doing your marketing right. Bill, thanks. See you next time.